It's no secret that sporting events are getting more and more expensive to host. But if you're on the outside looking in and your state does not have a state level event funding mechanism, then you're going to want to pay attention to this video because I'm going to dive into the top 3 key takeaways from our third edition of our state level event funding report, chock full of updates for 2024. Hey, it's Dr. Jennifer Stoll, President and CEO of Cimarron Global Solutions. And if you've followed this wave at all in the past, this is the video for you. We're diving into the top 3 key takeaways from our most recent edition of the Stoll Report on state level event funding. Now, those of you that know us know that we have covered this topic time and time again. We have rolled into the depths of the interwebs to bring you the most relevant information on an annual basis. And the good news is we're making the update for 2024 absolutely free. It's going to be chock full of great information for you and your market and your advocacy efforts when it comes to securing state level event funding. So let's dive right into key takeaway number 1 from the 2024 update. And it is this simple. The playing field for state level funding is still shifting rapidly. We saw some funds go away. They expired, some funds that were maybe tied to ARPA dollars allocated during the COVID pandemic. But we've also seen some new states jump in and get some skin in the game. And states like Wisconsin, states like Washington and Delaware are all new players to this space, adding to the total of states that have a funding mechanism. All 3 of those states mentioned have new funds with very specific nuances. None of their funds are set up the exact same, and we dive into all the differences in the report. Key takeaway number 2, and that is mega events are drawing mega investments when it comes to state level funding. Well, we know what's out there. We know that in the next decade, the U.S. is going to play host to some of the most significant sporting events around the globe, including the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the 2028 LA Olympic and Paralympic Games, the 2034 Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games hosted by Salt Lake. But we've also got World Rugby, World Cricket, and many others. We've talked about this before. In fact, we even have a service offering related to you as a market, not necessarily just large markets, but small and mid-sized markets as well, taking advantage of this opportunity that's probably once in a lifetime when it comes to the opportunity to tie into what's happening in the U.S. from an international sports perspective. But we know those mega events are driving mega investment. We're starting to see those dollar amounts roll in as cities and states are allocating to cover the costs of those events. So we're going to be watching as these events actually come to fruition. And then, of course, most importantly, what those actual numbers look like post-event as the years start falling off the calendar. Okay, key takeaway number 3 from our 2024 update is the chess match has begun. There's no doubt about it. You know, when we first started analyzing and researching this topic, we saw the likes of like the Texases. Everybody was talking about the Texas fund. And there were a few other funds along the way, and everything was just kind of status quo. Some new states were jumping into the game year after year, but boy, has that shifted. It's never been more dynamic, as I said in key takeaway number 1, but now we're starting to see chess. We used to see checkers, now we're seeing chess. Texas, in fact, is revamping some of the elements of its state fund. We've got that covered in the report. And we're starting to see new states or newer states that have recently dove into this pool, really looking at creative mechanisms. And I'll give you a couple of examples. One is North Carolina and the other is Pennsylvania. 2 recent additions, North Carolina last year, Pennsylvania this year, but they've tied their state level event funding mechanisms to revenue generated from their statewide sports wagering legislation. So a really different and interesting approach. I anticipate that we'll see more of that coming down the line. So that's it. Those are our 3 key takeaways from the Stoll report on state level event funding, the 2024 update. We've taken some of the guesswork out, not only in this report, but we've also given you our 10-step roadmap to starting to think about how you can develop a state level event funding mechanism in your state. It's attached in the description below, but it's a free resource that'll answer some questions. And as always, don't hesitate to reach out if you need any advice. We've worked with several states and cities around the country, putting these things together, and we're following it so you don't have to.